So it's been quite a bit since I've covered My Hero Academia on this channel in any capacity. And the reason back then was simple. I kind of just fell off, got caught up in the hype of other stuff, and my taste evolved to just like different things for a while. And well, it's evolved back. And so after watching My Hero Academia Season 3 for the very first time, in my Discord server, by the way, ooh, plug, I wrote a literal 20-page review of the entire season. No, I am not going to do a 20-page review of My Hero Academia.
No, I don't think I will.
I don't have the time to do that between my Chainsaw Man channel, my anime podcast channel, as well catching up to One Piece and reading Dan. So I decided on quality over quantity and took the best portion out of that review for the video and just rewrote it. And of course, it is on the Hideout raid arc. And boys and girls of the Sea Tactics Nation of Domination, that 20-page review was the best mistake I ever made in my life. Because the Hideout raid arc ignited my love and passion for My Hero Academia again, which I haven't felt since My Hero Academia Season 2, because I loved and adored that back in the day for its just awesome action. Well, Hideout Raid Arc does something that directly appeals to me now, and if you are still a follower of my Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen content, you know what I'm about to say. Action and heavy character focus. I love me some good character work, and this arc does that so freaking well. In fact, the best I've ever seen the series do it. The series' biggest and emotional highs are all in this arc. So I'm here today to break down and analyze My Hero Academia's Hideout Raid Arc. And if you would, kindly raid the subscribe and like button. But as well, pick up some of my merch from my Teespring store. Every little bit helps me out. Now, the Hideout Raid arc is easily one of my favorites, if not my favorite arc of the entire series currently. Seriously, if I were to rank it, it would easily be an S-tier arc for me. This arc initially serves really as a come down from the preceding events. But it takes the sharp turn. Essentially, despite a significant victory in this arc, it ultimately feels like a Pyrrhic one. The first harsh reality hits when Midoriya learns that his ligaments have sustained severe damage after his battle with Muscular. He's warned that if he continues at this pace, he may only have 2 or 3 more uses of his body before losing the functionality of his hands and arms. This revelation hits hard, echoing the toll his newfound power has been taking on him, much like it did with All Might. It's a reflection, really, of the parallels between All Might and Deku, adding a brilliant layer to the arc's focus. It's also one that carries into the Overhaul arc as well, which we'll talk about in another video, of course. As long as you guys want that is, make sure to comment down below. Though, another big moment for Midoriya's character is when he receives a letter from Kota apologizing for his transgressions against his junk, and as well realizing that he didn't need to treat other heroes the way he did. How can someone reading this letter not break down in tears or at least feel emotional? Midoriya's actions helped Kota move past some of his trauma around his parents' death. And of course, Kota, after witnessing firsthand the lengths he went to protect himself and his friends, anyone would have a change of heart, especially a confused young kid still grieving. That being said, while one issue is resolved in Midoriya's life, another bears rotten fruit, as throughout this arc and the series so far, Midoriya's mother calls, and one thing leads to another, and hearing the worry in her voice, she asks Midoriya if he needs to still attend UA. And you really can see in his face the guilt he feels when talking to her. I found this dynamic throughout the arc so compelling because I myself am a son to a mother. I know, big reveal, kind of crazy. So when you worry about your mother, it's an entirely different feeling. It fills me with anxiety just thinking about it. It's a horrible feeling because this is the woman who gave birth to you, and all you want to do is make her proud of your actions and who you are and give back that love she gave you growing up. And you can sense that same feeling in Midoriya as he hears it. It's one of the best aspects of his character, as it brings tension to his character arc and with every fight. Because from here on out, every time he fought, I always, in the back of my mind, worried about Midoriya's body and what his mother would think. It is a major hurdle in his life, and very easily he could just reject his mother's feelings or concede to them. But by the end, they do both reach a middle ground. For now though, however, he decides that because of the power he inherited, there just is no turning back at all. After all, he is All Might's protege, and with that, it's not something he can simply turn back from now he knew going in that this was, well, all or nothing. This also plays into their top secret mission to go and save Bakugo through non-violent methods, as they're barred from fighting or else will be expelled. This adds even more tension throughout, as Midoriya and the others can only witness the sheer destruction and carnage of what goes on. However, while they begin to lay out their plan, using really funny disguises and accents, by the way, like Midoriya looks like an NPC from Like a Dragon. But this leads to one of my favorite story threads in MHA, which deals with the public's trust in heroes. And I found that the reaction to the heroes, overly criticizing them instead of supporting them, especially from reporters and such, was shockingly something I immediately caught onto as a mirror of our own lives. We see this all the time with how everyone is divided over the simplest of issues, like which game launcher is better, Steam or Epic? This same division we experience also permeates the society of MHA, and I found it to be disgusting, just because of the vitriol and spitefulness of the way it was portrayed, which shows how people take everything they have for granted, as if it's just there for them forever. It's a vicious cycle that gets nobody anywhere. But, as we learn, that was the plan from the start. The League of Villains truly lives by their name, as back at their hideout, they tried to get Bakugo on their side by manipulating him, making him seem like they're friends by treating him as an equal. Their war is based on two questions they have. One, what is a hero? And two, what is justice? They reveal here that their goal is to get people to question and think, which really just translates to them just trying to manipulate the people and divide them as much as possible. Because when you have people divided, they lose faith in the heroes. And if they truly wanted people to just think, then there would be no overarching goal attached to any of this. It wouldn't be an organization of villains, it would be more like a group of friends. And we see the fruits of their division as Eraserhead is constantly being grilled along with the others at UA. The reporters even go as far to use Bakugo's supposed mental and emotional instability to try and prove a narrative that heroes are bad or untrustworthy. But Eraserhead flips it to be a positive by saying that Bakugo isn't unstable, but has very strong convictions and ideals. Which is true. And I found this entire part of the story to be so engaging because, as I stated previously, it just really felt like a reflection of our lives. It made MHA just seem more real to me, and that it was trying to get across something and commentate on the way we as a society act, especially how easily we can be divided, and what we do to others who we may perceive as being in the wrong, but are in reality victims, and should be supported.
何言ってんだこいつら全然守れてねえじゃん
While UA deals with this debacle, the real plan is for the heroes, led by All Might, to lead an immediate counterattack against the League of Villains at their hideout and, at all costs, get back Bakugo, hell or high water. This is when we get a showcase of some of the heroes on the team, and I have to say it, Mount Lady? Best girl. But other than that, they begin their attack on the hideout as All Might smashes through the door in all of his glory. I knew in this moment that his arc was about to get even better. The urgency of this arc is so perfect, as immediately All Might goes face to face with All for One. I also gotta say, I love how everyone's reactions were written here, especially the students, who immediately realize his presence and really can only think about death. They're either shocked to the point that they can't move, or they're on the verge of vomiting. Either way, I got the message clearly. All for One is on a totally different level to UA students, or really any pro hero. So they fight, which ends up with All Might and AFO creating a gigantic crater where the hideout once was, like almost immediately. This is one thing that I really appreciate about MHA, is that they're very good about showing the damage of these heroes battling in every way that they can. Reminds me of classic DBZ fight scenes when everything would be destroyed, and by the end, there was only a scarred battlefield in some cases. It's the same thing here. This helps us us further realize the spectacle of this fight and that All Might versus All for One is legit fire. The way they fight is just so insane, and AFO's ability is just so badass. He can take quirks and combine them at will, which reminds me of Oblivion, you know, where you can create insanely overpowered spells. But from beginning to end, I was captivated, and the storytelling between AFO and Shigaraki is just so freaking good. Just like a nice ice-cold sip of gamer subs in their freshly launched Alice in Waifu Land promotion, where you can pick up Silvervale's brand new waifu cup like I have here, and Meat Canyon's new flavor,
Raw meat.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Less than 1 calorie, sugar-free, antioxidants plenty, and nootropics. Raw meat will help you focus at any task, not just gaming. Use my code CTACTICS or the link in the pinned comment to get 10% off your order. And speaking of twist, AFO is just so twisted and messed up, revealing to All Might that he's always hated him because he, quote, stood so tall atop all of our sacrifices. I got the sense he's bitter over his plans being thwarted, pretty much. This was such great writing, and as All Might uses Detroit Smash, which may be one of the coolest moments of the fight, AFO says in regards to All Might not being able to use Detroit Smash at full force that, for heroes, there are so many things worth protecting. Right here. This is AFO telling All Might who he is. He doesn't have to worry about protecting the people. He doesn't have to worry about students or coming off as a symbol for all the people who need it. He doesn't care. He doesn't need or want to protect anything. He just wants to tear it all down and sow chaos and division. And I guess I gotta say, the writing for AFO is that good, as is really the entire season and this arc, but you know, I digress. All Might's rebuttal is good too. He tells AFO that he can never forgive him because all he does is manipulate, toy with, and break people to take advantage of them. And it's true. Look at what he's already tried to do to Bakugo. However, the thing AFO didn't count on was that Bakugo looked up to All Might. It almost feels as if AFO saw the reports of Bakugo being shown as unstable after the tournament that he believed he could just take advantage of that. But he didn't account for Bakugo having his own convictions and would never stoop to the lows of AFO. And All Might is proven right when he brings up Nana Shimura trying to shake All Might off his foundation and manipulate the situation so that he can take advantage. I love how Gran Torino as well immediately comes to his aid to tell him to not let him use mind tricks on him and to not play his games. Because as we see, AFO is a master manipulator and he has already done so much damage because of it. And All Might is besides himself, furious over the way AFO casually just says that Nana was this idyllic person to a fall and weak and that her death was embarrassing. This is when Gran Torino tells All Might that it's time to end it, to smash past his limit. It was this moment where I realized that whatever happens after this, All Might will never be the same again. AFO wants nothing more than to see All Might die for smashing all that he's built, and he'll start by taking his pride and his image boldly in front of everyone on their TVs and those there to witness it. All Might's true form is finally revealed to everyone. Midoriya, upon seeing this, breaks down in tears. The secret both of them shared is now out. Everyone knows that behind the muscles of All Might, there is a man gravely injured and with little time left to be a symbol of peace. However, and oh my god, this writing, man, it's so good. All Might, with a fire in his heart, says that he may have exposed his secret, but it's not the facade of muscles that makes All Might, or the image. It's the indomitable spirit that is his symbol of peace. What a speech. This had me so hyped because it just hits. All Might knows he's already won. He knows that he's already better, that he is more confident in himself. It doesn't matter what games AFO plays to undercut him, because at the end of the day, that's all he's doing, playing games and undercutting. All Might is telling AFO he knows who he is, and the people deep down know it too. Nothing will ever kill All Might, not even death itself. This is when AFO drops a bomb of his own when he reveals Nana Shimura to be the grandmother of Shigaraki. That this whole time he's hated All Might, and he's been engineered from the start to have All Might clash with Shigaraki so that he could tear down Shigaraki's mind and radicalize him. All Might then recalls some words of Nana, which I thought were beautiful. When someone is in a scary situation, a true hero not only saves their lives, but also their spirits.
オリジンってやつさ。そいつがお前を限界の少し先まで連れてってくれる。
This is another fantastic instance of great writing because what Nana is saying here fueled All Might to achieve so much more. It's the code by which he lives. All Might isn't there in some transactional way to just save people and forget about them. He's also there to be their spirit, to give them hope in a dark world or in their times of need. All Might and Nana gave themselves away to the people. Not once did they take or gain from them. All Might from the start, as a true hero, dedicated himself to not even himself. And he says, "The people who can smile are the strongest." This is another quote from Nana that just, it rang so personally with me too. If you can smile, you can live. That's the simple fact. And there's science to prove it, because laughing, as scientists have proven, can help you live a longer, healthier, and obviously happier life. It calms people down when you see somebody smile. Every time you smile. And so the people who can smile earnestly are strong. And the best part is that All Might realizes the gravity of the situation as a woman crawls from the rubble to tell him just that he can do it, as the people of Japan rally together to support All Might in this moment. And really, in one of the best moments that I've seen in this entire series. All Might powers up, and you know it's all over for AFO. This is an All Might we've never seen before. This is an All Might that knows this is his last act as a symbol of peace. And this will be the one that will count to end the era of All Might. All Might recalls Nana telling him to remember why he is doing this and to push past his limits. He wants to make a world where everyone can live with a smile. So he'll be that symbol for them. Remember, if your darkest hours, or in moments where you're unsure, where everything is going wrong and you can't get a break or a moment to breathe, remember what you're doing it for. Remember the goal, the end game. That will always guide you. All Might, all he can do now is keep his arm muscled as AFO tells him and says that he hates his ideals and everything he stands for, that All Might is simply drawing from the embers of One for All, that he's failed as a hero. All Might agrees, yeah, he's probably failed as a hero because of his physical state, and that he won't be able to do this forever, but he cannot let Midoriya down. So he has zero choice but to live and not die to AFO or anyone. All Might then uses United States of Smash to lay out AFO in one of the most epic, intense, satisfying, and cathartic moments I've ever seen in MHA. All Might has taken out AFO and defeated the man who gravely injured him and has now taken away All Might from the people. He raises his arm and, oh man, I'm kind of getting emotional just writing about this, but he raises his arm in victory and as a symbol, and the people cheer in celebration. All Might has defeated the evil and saved us all again. However, this is his final act as number one. All Might. Man, I can't help but not get emotional here. He points to the camera and he says, "Now it's your turn." For the people, this was a message of peace. But for Midoriya, it was All Might saying, "I've done all I can." As AFO says All Might missed his chance to bow out, it's up to Shigaraki to continue the mission, or rather, enter into its next phase. The way I interpret all of this is that All Might may have won the battle, but AFO just won the war. AFO is the one who injured All Might, and because of that injury, while delayed, defeated All Might by literally sucking out the embers of One for All from him. All that was left, he took it, and while it cost AFO everything, it pales into comparison to the greater plan: supplant Shigaraki as the new leader of the League of Villains and use this moment to fuel his hatred for heroes and guarantee that with All Might gone, The ultimate goal of the League of Villains will succeed as planned. The Master Manipulator, through defeat, possibly has just secured victory, and the heroes have gained themselves only a Pyrrhic victory. In the aftermath, Shigaraki now has fuel to expand his plans and scope. All Might was retired, and now UA feels they need to make fundamental changes to their organization, and they're probably right. The tragic reality is that Nana, knowing that if she died, wanted Shigaraki to have zero involvement with heroes and wanted him out of any hero's life. But those final wishes from Nana were taken and they were twisted. All Might even suggested that they go to Shigaraki and try to explain, but I think I'm with Gran Torino here. He says that there really is no point for this, that he is a villain now and really nothing could be done. And it just feels that UA is deeply sick as an organization and it's time for them to start recovering. And while this story plays out, Midoriya is at home when he gets a text from All Might to meet him. And in one of the most bittersweet moments of the series that I've seen, All Might punches him with the power of Texas and tells him that he can't fight anymore, and that All Might is mad at Midoriya for going to the hideout. But he breaks down and holds Midoriya and tells him that he is happy that he walked away unharmed, as Midoriya begins to cry, saying that the sun has set on the era of All Might. And man, that realization, it's crazy. This truly is like if Goku just decided to retire and ride off into the sunset, but like actually for reals with no catches. This moment of heart-wrenching, just like the entire end to this arc, I simply loved how they twilight All Might's character here. It is the perfect send-off for him, and I think that if they are to bring him back, it would lessen the impact of this moment tremendously, along with everyone else involved. So I hope they don't bring them back, honestly. Outside of that, the rest of the arc is great. They go to each of the parents' houses to sit down and talk with every one of them. They go to Jiro's parents, and her parents seem to be swell people trying to make sure she's well protected and in good hands. They go to Bakugo's house to talk to his MILF mom and father, to which All Might says they have issues, and yeah, they do. Bakugo's dad may have landed the baddest of baddies, but wow, is he submissive. Plus, Bakugo gets his personality from his mom. Like, she literally is just Bakugo. Still a MILF though. However, the big highlight is when All Might goes to Midoriya's home to meet him and his mother. And I love how they're both floored that All Might, the hero they've both admired for so long, is now in their home. However, the tension between Midoriya and his mom about how he is always injured and in danger finally comes flooding out. She thinks that he shouldn't return to UA, that admiring and watching heroes on TV is good enough for him because that was what it was before he had a quirk. And it is just so heartbreaking to hear all of this while she recounts all of those times that they would play together. How Midoriya would play the hero, saving his captured mom, and from her perspective, I can understand her reasoning. This is her little boy who is now getting hurt to the point where he could lose the use of his arms. She still supports his goals, but she has issues with UA as a school, and while she says this, Midoriya realizes that he's been ignoring his mother's feelings and not considering them. That subtle realization adds much to Midoriya's character as it matures him beyond just being a kid who wants to be All Might or just a hero. He's now grown enough as a person to understand that his actions, they have consequences, and one of them is worrying his poor mother to death all of the time. He's been very bad about that, not considering her at all, just focusing on the opportunity that he's been given. In other words, he has been tunnel visioned. He even tries to initially excuse himself, but he knows that just further proves her point, and so he goes silent. Eventually, though, he runs off to his room to get the letter from Koda and shows it to her and essentially takes responsibility for his actions in worrying his mother. And this is when All Might muscles up and gets on his hands and knees. A visual that looks well out of place. And I mean, we've never really seen All Might prostrate like this before, really prostrate in general. But he does, and he begs her to let Midoriya attend. That he wants Midoriya to replace him and that he will protect him and raise him right, even if it costs him his life. So in a great moment, she also gets on her knees to meet him and says she'll allow it, that he shouldn't have to die, and that his support is enough to let Midoriya attend to UA. And all I could think about is, well, these two should date. Seriously, these two in this scene, oh my god, I'm sorry, but I ship it, y'all. I just do. He even says to Midoriya that later that his mom reminds her of Nana with her haircut and as well how strong she is. So that's just even further proof.
絶対心配させない
Hideout raid arc is just great. It's great anime. It's great shonen. It just is. That's what I love about it, as it felt like the entire story was firing on all cylinders. Personally speaking, the story of Midoriya going through his body deteriorating and how this affects his relationship with his mother. And as a viewer, I can see both sides of their viewpoints in that relationship. Why would Deku be allowed to go to UA if he could potentially end up in a wheelchair or dead? As a mother, why should she allow that to happen to her son? That isn't what they signed up for. It's unfair to her, unfair to him. But for Deku, this is his dream and he has to do it.
手紙もらったんだ
He inherited All Might's power. He's in it until the very end now. So naturally, it makes sense for All Might here to be the mediator to soothe tensions and reassure both of them that he will be protected and raised well.
順序が間違っていたこと
And the fact he used the word raise is also important. It shows to Midoriya's mommy that All Might isn't thinking of this as his successor. He's thinking about this like a father. A parent to a child is very different and comes with so many different contexts to it than a student. He's telling her that Midoriya is his flesh and blood to him, that this isn't anything less than dead serious. And maybe that's why we all want to ship Midoriya's mom and All Might, because both of them want the same things from him and they want him to be and experience greatness because he has the potential to do so and they want to protect him while he does that. As for All Might versus All for One, that's hard to talk about really, but only because I could go on forever about this amazing fight. One for All, truly a badass. Even in loss, the villains ultimately would win here, which is what's so cruel about all of this. All Might is now taken from the world of heroes. He can't fight anymore. And to see this era come to an end and leave it all to the next generation is sad. It's not fair, but it does have to be done. All Might and All for One represent the past and how there has to be something new for the people of the future to believe in and fight for. All Might can't be 90 years old and still doing this. This lineage needs to continue because the League of Villains directly opposes them with new, fresh blood with powers never before seen. So really this arc feels like a warning of what's about to come in the story. That from here on out, the heroes and villains you once thought would be around forever are now too old or too tired to do it. I made the comparison earlier to Goku, and I think that's a really apt one. Goku feels like the fairy tale version of reality. In our heads, we imagine All Might fighting forever like Goku does, but reality is far too cruel, even to All Might. And with the upcoming arcs like Overhaul, it's a great lead into that, and continues that story brilliantly. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but I think this is one of My Hero Academia's greatest moments, not only for what it means for the past, but the future. Its themes around family, eras, and generations, and the call to action for a new generation hits home and is a beautiful reflection in many ways of our world. My Hero Academia's greatest moment tells us that at some point it's up to us to carry the torch forward from a previous generation, but as well, know when to pass it on to a newer generation when the time comes.
私はもう出し切ってしまった。
Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you found this video enjoyable. It took a very long time to make, longer than I anticipated. So if you want to see more of these My Hero Academia videos on my channel, or some of my favorite moments in MHA that I never got to talk about previously, please drop a like, show some support, and if you never want to miss a video, subscribe. In the comments, let me know what you want to see from me when it comes to MHA, or anything else while we're at it. As well, please check out the description for a multitude of extra ways to support me if you so desire. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.